Hello beautiful people, this is Chris from TechSpert and I'm here with the HTC Desire 12S. That's right, HTC is still alive and kicking, and this is its latest budget-friendly smartphone. Costs £199 here in the UK. It's available right now via the HTC website and a handful of select retailers. Going to get it fully unboxed now, get it all set up, take a tour of the hardware, the software, the specs, everything you need to know about the Desire 12S. And for more on the latest greatest mobile tech, please do poke, subscribe and ding that notifications bell. Cheers! So first of all, because this is of course an unboxing, let's check out what you actually get in the rest of the box and then we'll get to the phone itself. So first of all, lots of pamphlets. So you've got, I don't even know what this is, recycling information, etc. A warranty card, a warranty statement. After all those big fat pamphlets, you get a tiny little dinky quick start guide. Pretty straightforward stuff. Like, you even get a dinky little HTC sticker. Isn't that cute? So you can chuck that on your car or your cat or whatever. Pokey pin device, always good for actually getting your SIM in the damn thing. Right here I've got a 2-pin European plug, but if you buy it in the UK you should get the proper 3-pin adapter. Obviously this is just a European review model. Got a charging cable. It is unfortunately micro USB. The Desire 12S, as some budget phones still are, so it's not the reversible Type-C, which is a bit of a nuisance, but there you go. And you actually get a pair of earphones bundled in there as well. Not bad at all for 200 quid. Although, of course, these are the old ear shredders that we usually get. So yeah, they're sort of alright as a desperate last-ditch sort of, oh no, my decent Bluetooth headphones have died or something. I need something to listen to my music. So now let's turn our attention to the phone itself, the HTC Desire 12S. And of course at 200 quid it's got some very stiff competition from the likes of the Moto G7 Power, the Realme 3 Pro, some really solid handsets that deliver a very solid everyday experience at that sort of price point. So the HTC Desire 12S, can it do enough to win you over and win your hard-earned cash? Well, let's take a bit of a tour. First of all, of the hardware itself. So it's got a sort of polycarbonate finish. As you can see, it's a dual design finish, as HTC terms it. So it's actually glossy up top, and then it appears to have a sort of a matte finish down here on the bottom. What it actually is it's just very light etching in the surface of the handset itself. As you can see, it does have a sort of a funky two-tone style effect, kind of similar to the Pixel handsets. And it does give it a sort of a nice, slightly rougher texture as well. It's supposed to, according to HTC, help prevent sort of smeary, greasy fingerprints and everything as well. And it kind of works a little bit, but as you can see, it's already just after like not even a minute of handling, already getting some scuffs there. So not entirely perfect. Plus, of course, the fingerprint sensor is actually housed in the glossy bit, which will be prodding and poking quite a bit anyway. The rest of the device is pretty straightforward stuff. You do, of course, have your micro USB charging port down below on a bottom fire and speaker, and then if we twist it around, you do actually get a 3.5mm headphone jack, which is surprisingly rare to see on a smartphone these days, so it's always good to have. Now, the Desire 12S is actually one of the more compact handsets that I've fondled recently. At 5.7 inches, it's actually under 6 inches, which is pretty much unheard of in 2019. And at just 150 grams, it's also pretty light as well compared with a lot of the behemoths that I've been reviewing lately. So at least it's relatively compact, though of course you do get these big chunky bezels below and above the display to kind of add to the overall chassis. And before I forget, it's also worth pointing out it comes in two different colours. This is the charcoal black, I believe it's called, but you can also get it in a shiny silver finish as well if you prefer. And yeah, that really is getting all greased up already. Ugh. So I'm going to get the HTC Desire 12S all set up, and then we can have a nice little tour of all the software and features as well. So there we have a pretty quick and easy setup process. Just connected to the Wi-Fi, entered my Google account information, all the usual stuff, and now here we are straight into the Android desktops. Now I do believe this unfortunately runs Android Oreo version 8.1 rather than the fresh new Pie, which isn't actually that fresh anymore. It's going to be replaced by Android Q soon, which was, of course, it's already in the beta stage. But let's just check the system. Yeah, there you have Android version 8.1.0. The HTC website does say that it will get an update to Pie at some point, but it doesn't actually indicate when. So yeah, I wouldn't hold your breath, to be perfectly honest. You do, of course, get HTC's own Sense interface on top of this thing as well, so that'll add a few bonus features, but on the whole, it looks like a fairly stock version of Android, as you can see there. Just drag up for your apps tray. You've got the usual navigation dock with all of your apps, everything, your notifications bar there as well with all of your quick shortcuts and everything fully customizable, of course. So it definitely has a fairly stock Android feel to it. but of course there will be some bonus features in there which we will explore. Now first up, it's worth pointing out that 5.7-inch IPS display isn't full HD, it is unfortunately just standard HD, so that's 1440 by 720 pixel resolution, so it's not quite as crisp as a lot of its rivals. Still, will do the job absolutely fine. As you see, just streaming the Lion King trailer here at 720p, and it looks absolutely fine, but if you do get your face up nice and close, you will notice that it's not quite as crisp as you will get on those full HD panels, and of course when you're just little things like text and icons and stuff, doesn't look quite as crisp, unfortunately. Still, the good news is that as far as brightness is concerned, this is a super bright panel. You'll have no problem seeing this whatsoever in super sunny days, which hopefully we'll actually be getting here in the UK next week, allegedly. I'll see it when I believe it when I see it. That's the one. Then the actual HTC website as well, the company used the phrase boom sound to describe the audio, which I was quite excited about because I took that to mean like a nice stereo speaker output, like you used to get on the old classic HTCs, but if we just play this on top volume, for this film. So you see it's quite powerful, but if you do cover that bottom speaker, then everything gets muffled. There's no output from this top speaker here.
And then the music, there was such a rich...
But you know what, the audio output is actually pretty good for a budget handset from that bottom mounted speaker, so that's something. The good news is with HTC Sense, you don't get much in the way of crapware these days. They've probably learnt their lessons from previous HTC phones where sometimes it got a bit much, but you will find, you know, the likes of Facebook and Instagram pre-installed, and you've got a handful of sort of extra tools such as the Boost Plus, which basically just helps to cull background tasks, things like that. As you can see there, you can boost your battery life, boost your performance, to clear any junk files out of your cache, things like that, so nice and simple. And of course, one classic feature that simply refuses to die is good old blink feed. This has been around on HTC phones for years and years now, and how timely, look, you can download a Merry Christmas theme in July. And blink feed, if you don't know anything about it, basically it's just a simple way of pulling in content from the likes of your social media accounts, Twitter, Facebook, your YouTube subscriptions, things like that. You can get like a bit of news feed action on the go usually as well. So it's a quick and simple way of sort of seeing what's going on in the world, I guess, but it's not really any better than the likes of the Google feed, stuff like that. As for the performance, well, it is a £200 budget handset, so you can't expect the moon on a stick, but at least the HTC Desire 12S is powered by Snapdragon chipset. It's the 435. So fingers crossed, you know, it'll do all right for your everyday tasks, browsing the web, your messaging apps, things like that. I wouldn't expect to do much in the way of gaming on this thing, and you might see some slowdown within a year or two as well. But we'll see how it goes. You know, fingers crossed it'll be fine, as I say, just for your everyday shenanigans. As for the battery life, you get a 3075 milliamp cell stuffed inside, so not too bad. But of course, you've got the likes of the G7 Power, which costs a little bit less than the HTC Desire 12S, and it comes with a much bigger battery. I believe that was 5000 milliamps. So if battery life is an important factor for you, then maybe consider that handset instead. But as you can see, you've got lots of standard battery features. You can do a bit of battery saver mode, things like that. And to be honest, with those sort of fairly power efficient platform, that Snapdragon, and you know, the sort of basic UI and everything, hopefully it should easily last a full day on a full charge. And rounding off the basic specs is the storage, and you get a choice of either 32 or 64 gigs of storage. The 32 gig model comes with 3 gigs of RAM, and the 64 gig model comes with 4 gigs of RAM. As you can see, this is the basic 32 gig model. A fair bit of it has already been used, about 9 gigs, so it leaves you with about, what, 23-ish to use for your apps and your media, so not a massive amount. If you're going to be shooting a lot of movies, things like that, you might want to consider bumping up to the 64 gig model, which unfortunately will of course cost you a little bit more. The good news is that the HTC Desire 12S does at least support dual SIM, and it does support micro SD memory cards as well. I'm not sure what the capacity, the maximum capacity micro SD that it supports is, but I'd imagine it supports at least up to 256, so if you do want to expand your storage, then you can do it that way. And of course you've got that rear physical fingerprint sensor as well. It's quite nice to have a physical fingerprint sensor on a smartphone as well, because obviously a lot of them are in-display fingerprint sensors now, and their responsiveness can be a little bit iffy at best, but this should hopefully do the job nicely. It's just a quick tap of your finger and boom, into your desktops pretty quickly. Not much of a delay there at all, and yeah, it seems to be nice and responsive and everything as well, so yeah, does the job. And it's also worth mentioning that when I was perusing the specs of the Desire 12S on the HTC website, I did notice buried away in the performance section randomly, it said IP68, which is of course referring to the official rating for dust and water resistance. So according to that, the Desire 12S should be able to be submerged in water, about a meter of water, for about sort of 30 minutes or so, which seems highly unlikely. Very, very few handsets around this sort of price point, or even splash resistant, let alone fully water and dust resistant. So I'm assuming that is just some sort of random typo that's crept in there. I can't actually find any mention of it in the press release or anything like that. So I'm going to chase up the PRs and see if it actually is in any way water resistant, and I'll add a little comment down below in the description just to clarify. I mean, basically, I'm not going to dunk this thing because I'm pretty sure it will just bloody break. Last up, let's take a look at the HTC Desire 12S's camera tech. Now, as you can see here, it is actually just a single lens rear camera, quite rare to find these days. Normally it's usually at least a dual lens snapper with just like a simple depth sensor. But as you can see here, the second little element here is just an LED flash. And it is a 13 megapixel single primary lens with f2.0 aperture. And around the front, you also have a single 13 megapixel snapper as well. It's an f2.2, but you do also get an LED flash up front as well. Diving into the camera app, as with most budget handsets, it's a fairly sort of stock and simplified experience. You're basically straight into your auto mode, just take a shot like so. You've got a handful of toggles up top, so you do actually have an HDR mode. Unfortunately, you can't get HDR auto, it's either on or it's off, so you just have to remember to toggle it on if you're shooting a high contrast scene against like a bright sky, something like that. You've got panorama mode that you can jump to using this little toggle here, as you can see, it gets there. And you've also got a couple of different scenes that you can shoot as well, landscape mode or sports, which just helps to take a quick shot to avoid blur. And you can swap to video like so, and I believe it's full HD resolution video that it can shoot. Yep, full HD. You can also dial it down if you want to, but I'm not really sure why you would. And you can also shoot full HD video or just snap away with that 13 megapixel front facing selfie snapper as well. And as I say, of course, it does have a bit of LED flash action as well. So, oh, it's one of those ones where it just stays on. I was not expecting that. Oh, Jesus. And of course, you've got HDR mode and beauty mode, I believe, as well, is what this bad boy is. Yeah, that's another glamour shot right there. Steady yourselves, ladies. Rawr. And there you have it. That in a nutshell is the HTC Desire 12S. So, you know, for your everyday sort of basic budgety handset, it'll do the job. At least it's a fairly stock version of Android, although it is an old version of Android. So hopefully they'll sort that out with a nice Pie update very soon. I certainly wouldn't expect it to get Android Q anytime soon, if indeed at all ever. So yeah, probably don't hold your breath on that one. To be perfectly honest, at this sort of price point, I would recommend the likes of the Realme 3 Pro and the Moto G7 Power over the HTC Desire 12S. They've just got a little bit more. For instance, the G7 Power's got that fantastic battery. The Realme 3 Pro, you've got a lovely full HD plus screen. So yeah, but let us know what you think in the comments down below. Are you tempted by the HTC Desire 12S? Are you surprised that HTC is still a thing? Definitely be great to hear your thoughts. And please do poke, subscribe and ding that notifications bell for more on the latest and greatest tech. Cheers everyone, love you!